So we'll just handle it right here. I'll just write over here. All right. So I love walking. What role does it play in the sentence? Subject. La. Good. Subject is I, verb, love. So what is that?
Predicate.
Well, everything that's not subject is predicate. But predicate is, the entirety of the sentence that's not the subject, right? So, but there's still very specific roles that the various parts of speech are going to play within the sentence, within the predicate, right? But you're right. Okay. What's this?
Participle.
It is, well, actually, no. Because it's not a verb in this sentence. What part of speech does it take on within this sentence? If you said, I love my car, would you have a problem figuring out what car was? What part of speech is car in that sentence? A noun. I love walking. So it's not a verb in this sentence. It's the action of walking as a noun. Okay? So listen, when an ing word is a noun, it's called a gerund. Gerund. I love walking. Gerund. Noun. Okay. That was our little lesson within the lesson within the lesson. Okay, so let's go back one layer and make sure the folks at home can see what's happening here. I need like a setup. What am I doing? What's happening here? I should have planned this out beforehand. Okay, you're way too close to me. It's not pretty. Okay. Just kidding. Don't freak out. Okay. We need a box with a panda head. What can we do? Some toilet paper. Okay. We got it. What do you think, ladies? Yes?
Great. How is that supposed you want?
Okay. Damn. Okay. Kaping! Okay. Still can't see all the board, but that's okay. All right. So you gotta listen if you're not here. Hey. All right. You guys got this part, right? The gerund versus the participle. Okay. So now we go back one to what's parallel. Now, so let's go back to our sentence that we were talking about. What's parallel? My favorite hobbies are walking, shopping, and to run. What parts of speech do we have with those three direct objects? My favorite hobbies. My favorite hobbies are walking, gerund, shopping, and to run. Whenever you have to in front of a verb in English, always, siempre, this is an infinitive, the infinitive verb. We're all familiar with the infinitive verb form in Spanish, right? It's going to have the AR ending, the IR ending, or the ER ending. In English, to make the infinitive form, all you do is put a to in front of the root form. To run, to walk, to shop. Okay? So I've got gerund, infinitive. It's not going to work. What do I need to do to make that 3 items in a series parallel? You can either change all 3 to the infinitive form, which, yes, in this case, you see where Nilmati's put like the 2 at the beginning of the 3 items in a series so that the 2 would apply to every single root form to make an infinitive. Yes, that works. Or you can turn all 3 into gerunds, right? That's what's going to make it parallel. Now, what have I got going on in this sentence where I need to make it parallel? I've got pre-writing makes the essay easier to write. I can just write ideas down and not worry about anything being organized. Okay, so, oh, God. Oh, there we go. Yay. Does that work? Okay. Where am I going to look for what needs to be parallel? What's my clue?
A comma?
Is that a comma? That's a comma? That was a period.
Hang on. Oh, it's a comma?
Yeah.
Then we got another thing to talk about. Let me discuss that for a moment, too. And actually, if had I known that, that would have been the first thing I talked about. Because this is one of the big no-nos. In 2102, at other universities, you can fail paper. Okay? So, when I get to that, pay attention. I'll let you know. All right. We're looking for the and. The and is, if I'm looking, okay, where are my items that I need to make parallel? Okay, I'm looking for 2 items. 2 items are always going to be joined by a conjunction. Exactly. Yes, Gloria. So I got my and. Okay, so that tells me I got my 2 items that I need to make parallel. Not worry about anything being organized and write ideas down. Let's start with this one since it's a little simpler. And actually, let's go with this second complete sentence. All right? Subject in the second complete sentence. I. Verb.
Right.
I've actually got two verbs, right? Because this is the main verb for that. I can write, and it's actually cannot worry, right? That helping verb is going with that. Now, if you want to see if either part of a sentence, you've got 2 pretty, this isn't very hefty, but this is hefty, right? That and is going, I'm trying to hold up this other part that I'm joining. It's bringing me down. If you and you're like, you know what? I got so much going on here. I can't even tell if this is grammatically correct. If you want to see if that second part is grammatically correct, what's the trick?
Read it yourself out loud.
Read out loud helps for everything. And then the other thing that you can do to see if this sounds right on its own is take out the first item that's joined by the conjunction. Okay? So what are we going to take out? But we are going to take out the and. But and is joining this, right? So let's take this out and see if this sounds right. Because that's how the conjunction works. If it's joining 2 parallel items, I should be able to take out the and
still make it sense.
Well, take out the and the first item, and the sentence should still make sense. Okay, and I'll show you how you can do that trick. You could also try it with not the second one too. So let's see if the sentence makes sense with not the second one. I can just write ideas down. Does that work?
Yeah.
Yes, that is fine. Okay. I can not worry about anything being organized. Technically, it's not wrong, but it doesn't sound
Like does not complete.
it doesn't sound right? There's something about the can not being like it's awkward, right? In English, this is something I would like parallel. I'm going to mark either as parallel or the two parallel lines. All right. In assessment, this is called awkward. Not awkward like nobody's talking for 30 seconds after a bad joke, but awkward where it's not wrong. It could just sound better, right? And awkward is like a middle order concern. You know, it's connected to word choice, right? So, what do we do? And to fix it, let's go ahead and keep this out for a second so we can focus on making this work. I can... What's giving us a problem? The not. There you go, Gloria. Good. What do we need to do?
Change it.
Flip it. Flip it to what? Flip it to the positive. So an action that instead of you wouldn't do, an action that you would do. Now what do we got? I can...
Worry about
How about this? You ready? And I'm not even gonna go crazy with this. I'm gonna stick in one word. You ready? Still sound awkward? We fixed. I got rid of that. I can worry less about anything being organized.
Yeah, it sounds better than not.
Sounds better, but something's still awkward, right? Now you realize, okay, I got rid of the glaring awkward. Now there's still like, you know, an accessory awkward here. I got rid of the pants that were clearly wrong. Now there's like some earrings that are just not right over here. A smaller awkward. What's the smaller awkward that's going on over here?
Anything?
Okay, I'm going to tell you what's happening here. And this is advanced stuff. This is a to be verb. Okay? What form is it taking in the sentence?
Like a gerund?
It is a gerund. Good. I'm going to give that a point. Guys, you're missing out on points today. I'm sorry. Unless you want to, like, you know, if you want to send in something on the chat, I can give you some points. But all the girls can get all the points today. It's going to be like a Girl Power Tuesday, which is kind of like Friday because it's Thanksgiving week. That was my turkey. You like it? Okay. So, let me get my point system over here. It's a gerund. It's a gerund because it's a direct object there, right? But what else? There's something else happening too.
The ing?
Well, that's the gerund part. Okay? So, where are my parents? Here's my parents. Okay. Yes, for the ladies. All right. Now what I do with the marker? It's probably over here. All right. This gerund is actually being possessed by something. Not possessed like Beelzebub in The Exorcist, but possessed like a possessive pronoun. Okay? What is it being possessed by? Yes. Yes! You guys are on top of this. I thought I was being all crazy advanced here, but you guys know what's up. All right, so it would actually work like this. Worry less about anything's being organized. Now it's grammatically correct, but it still sounds awkward, right? So it looks like instead of fixing, and here's the lesson for this. If you've got a parallel issue where you've got to fix more than two things, work from your original parallel item to make it parallel with that. Don't try to force a square into a circle. All right? We've already fixed three things here, and I've lost time. You know, this is Miami. I got things to do, right? I can't be like trying to make this parallel for 30 minutes. So work with this one and make it automatically parallel like that. So I'm back to, I can just write ideas down and what? Look at what you've got here. You've got a verb, direct object, and write down is actually like a colloquial, like an informal verb, write down, you know.
Yeah.
So that sort of goes together. So really you've just got a verb and direct object. So I'll let you guys think for a second. So this should actually only be like 2 or 3 words. Yeah, that actually works, but that way you didn't split the verb. Try not to split a verb either, and you never split an infinitive. When you've got to run, to walk, to shop, you do not put anything, in formal writing, don't put anything between the to and the verb. Okay? And what I heard Victoria saying it out loud, revising out loud. I can just write down ideas. Does that sound clearer? Yes, because you didn't split the verb. Okay? So I can just write down casual verb, ideas, and give me verb direct object. That's it to make it parallel. Over here we have like a gerund and a possessive and so not parallel at all, right? So when all I needed was a verb and a direct object to make this parallel. And working through a sentence like that is going to make your meaning more precise. Because now you're having to sit there and think, what do I want to say? What am I trying to say? Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so what are we trying to say? We're trying to say that we don't have to worry, we don't have to sit there and edit. Oh, edit? Can I use that verb?
Yeah.
Okay. I can just write down ideas. So maybe this, you know what? Maybe I'm sitting here trying to make stuff parallel when it's not an and situation, because I'm not really doing something on top of something. I'm doing something simultaneously. Is there a transitive adverb, or which can behave like a conjunction, while, right? While is the word I'm talking about. This action is taking place simultaneously, not and on top of, but while. Do you see where even the conjunction has an implication of meaning, right? Now, so let's clarify. I can just write down ideas while or without Without worrying.
Yes, about anything.
Without worrying about editing.
Without worrying about it. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Clear.
Yeah.
Concise. Says exactly what you want to say. Okay? Did you guys get that?
Yeah.
What it comes down to is meaning. What am I trying to, so many times when you're dealing with punctuation, grammar, awkwardness, word choice, it's not about, oh, I need to make this right because of the rules. So many times it comes down to meaning, Okay. All right, so let's deal with what's happening here. Oh, boy. And is this a complete sentence? Pre-writing makes the essay easier to write. Is that a complete sentence?
Yes.
Yes. Subject.
Pre-writing
Verb.
makes.
Okay. Do I love this? This is a reading journal, so it's casual. So I would never, ever, but since we're workshopping a sentence, we do this to prepare you for the more formal writing in your essay. This isn't about like, you did this wrong, because it's not wrong. It's to show you the opportunities or, things to think about when you do execute your formal writing. So, makes. The second verb that we learn after to be. In Spanish it's ser. To be is ser. What is make? To make or do in Spanish. Hacer. It goes with everything, right? Very common. So does pre-writing really make? If we were doing this in formal writing, we would choose a different verb.
Help.
Yeah, assist. There you go. And now you've got a verb that really gives the idea of what you're trying to say, right? When makes says nothing, right? Hace calor. Am I saying like how hot? What kind of hot? Where's the hot? Nope. I'm just saying
It's hot.
saying it's hot. So your hace, your make, nothing. It's almost like to be. So find a verb that works. Pre-writing, and now we've got a construction issue if we find a better verb, which means it was probably awkward in the first place, right? Okay. I'm not going to go into that, but you guys see how many things were going on here? With a sentence that really didn't have a punctuation issue, except for the fact that I didn't know that this wasn't a period. Because this is a comma, we got an issue. All right, we said this was a complete sentence, right? We said this is a complete sentence, right? They both have a subject and a verb, therefore they're both complete sentences. If this is a comma, what have I done? What have I done when I've put a comma between two complete sentences?
Yeah, run-off sentence.
Splice. It's not a run-on. It's a comma splice. The verb splice. Does everybody know the verb splice? Look it up.
Have.
Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. Let's play the look it up game. Get out the dictionary. Find out the name of this verb that we don't know. Splice. I love it because it has three consonants together at the beginning. Splice. Almost sounds like a band. You could add like another noun to it and have a band. Splice. Lemon splice. Something like that. What does splice mean? Comma splice.
I brought my seagull book, so.
You got the seagull, the bird book. Bird book's gonna help you on the comma splice.
So it says here that a comma splice looks like a complete sentence, in that it starts with a capital letter and concludes with.
Okay,
And
they're being a little
punctuation.
basic. Go ahead, Victoria.
It contains two independent clauses.
Independent clause is another term for complete sentence. So when I say complete sentence, that's the same thing as independent clause. An independent clause can stand on its own as a sentence. A dependent clause or subordinate clause cannot stand on its own as a sentence. Okay? So did that part in the bird book tell you what splice means, Victoria? I
don't think so. It didn't say.
All right, what you got, Gloria?
It says it's also called a run-on when
Okay,
the writer has
what does the verb splice mean? That's what I'm asking.
to join. To join or connect.
Splice means to join or connect.
Yeah.
Read the definition for me, please.
To join or connect by interweaving the strands.
Okay, so if you've got two strands, and I'm not nuts about that definition. Hang on. Let me get out my handy dandy. Oh. All right. It's not that I don't believe you, Gloria. It's that I want.
Sometimes the internet says.
Hey, y'all know better than I do. The internet's gonna lie to you. Who's gonna lie to you? The internet. The internet's. All right, so let's look up splice here. See if we can get a better definition, so that I can explain to you why it's called splice. Yes, there we go. It's actually the exact same thing, Glorious. It's so good. To unite by interweaving the strands, to unite by lapping the ends together, or by applying a piece that laps upon two ends. To join in marriage, what? That's crazy. Okay, so the point here is that you've got two strands that are just
Two strands are independent.
two strands that are independent. Is that comma enough to put them together? No. It's comma splice. It's trying to put it together, but it can't. If you've got two independent clauses, what do? You can't. A comma is not gonna be enough to join those two strands together. What do we need? Comma and, comma or, comma conjunction. So it can be comma conjunction or what else? There's one other situation, but it also has caveat, which means if we use a semicolon, semicolon joins two independent clauses, but that means you have to have a semicolon situation. A semicolon connects two sentences that are absolutely about the same idea, and it's almost like the semicolon continues, with an explanation, right? But that explanation is a complete sentence, so you can't just, throw it on top of something. Pre-writing assists the essay process, we'll say, comma, and I can just write ideas down without editing. Does that sound? Nope. No, it doesn't. So comma and's not going to work here. And now you've discovered that you're really trying to say something else here, right? You want to talk specifically about how pre-writing makes the essay easier for you. So, because that's what you clarify in the second part of the sentence. So and I do think that this is a semicolon situation, then you would say something here that introduces that, right? then you would have a beautiful, complex sentence about writing. Fantastical. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Questions about anything that we did with this sentence?
We use a comma because.
Oh, comma because? Yes. Yes. Other questions? That's a good question. Because sometimes you don't know, like sometimes there's comma because, sometimes it's not comma because.
No, because like I used to do that a lot, and like the Professor McCon, she would say like don't like is because it's not a conjunction, right?
Because is not a conjunction.
Okay, so I think what she said that like don't put a comma after the conjunction. That's what
Well, not after the conjunction. It's going to go before the conjunction.
Yeah.
But the issue of because is not a conjunction hinges on, you guys have the Bird book? Because this is sort of massive. And if I'm going to get into the whole comma issue, I need for you to have a place to reference. Especially so you're not like writing down every single thing I say. This is huge. You ready? You got the Bird book? Gloria, you got the Bird book?
No.
And you don't have the Bird book?
I'm gonna get it.
Did they require the Bird book for 21X2, right? Or no?
I don't think so.
They required
Does
in
they say it's optional?
They didn't tell me.
they required it in English.
In 1101 for sure. And
Yeah,
basic.
1101.
Yeah. Let me let you guys. My Bird book has been modified to feature Hello Kitty. Let's see. We're looking at for the Seagull book when we talk about commas. It's gonna be mostly on page 322, right? Yes.
Yep.
Victoria?
Yeah.
Okay. Because what I was going to talk to you guys about was supplemental information. That's not it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this part in the Bird book on comma splices and fused sentences tells you all about a comma splice occurs when two or more independent clauses, like Victoria said, follow one another with only a comma between them. They go into how to edit it. They go into use a comma in a coordinating conjunction, like we talked about. Use a semicolon or recast one clause as a subordinate clause. Okay? A subordinate clause is a clause that's not going to be able to stand on its own. And listen, if you've got a question on whether or not the because should have a comma, put it at the beginning of the sentence if it'll work. See what I'm saying? Because if it's a subordinate clause at the beginning of a sentence, it's always going to have a comma behind it. Because I was tired, comma, I took a nap. You hear me? And if I say I took a nap because I was tired, I don't really need a comma there. But then you've got two independent clauses and the because, and you're confused. And what do I do? And oh my gosh, right? If you're confused, in doubt, whatever, put it at the beginning of the sentence. Plus, when you do that, you vary up your sentence structure as well. And it also forces you to clarify meaning, because if you put it at the beginning of the sentence, it should maintain the integrity of the meaning. If it doesn't, something's wrong. Okay? All right, good questions. Let's work with this one. Free writing stresses me out.
That one's fine.
I figured, Victoria. That's an awesome thing to say. Because I focus on the grammar and spelling immediately. Speaking of that comma because, we can talk about it here. Because I focus on the grammar and spelling immediately. Semicolon. The sentence has to be perfect. Okay. this is, I feel this. I feel you. Can you guys swipe type text without looking at what you're writing?
What do you mean?
Like when a dialogue box or something covers up what you're writing, can you still type? I can't stand that. Like, I have to be able to see what I'm writing. I know I'm spelling everything right. I know but I have to see what I'm writing. And to me, that's the same sort of thing that Victoria is feeling here. Free writing stresses me out. I'm trying to write right, It's a mode, and this can be from so much emphasis on formal writing experience, or any number of things that when your brain goes into writing mode for an assignment, you want those sentences to be perfect, right? And free writing messes with that. Now, let me tell you something. Free writing is supposed to mess with that. Here's why. When you go into formal writing mode for an assignment and you're editing as you go, you are in the mode of correcting yourself. Careful writing. What do I mean? Is this clear? When you're free writing, that needs to be disrupted, because why? What's the emphasis in free writing? Am I going to go to your free writing and look for commas? No.
It's supposed to be messed up.
What is the purpose of free writing? Why? Yes, to write down anything, any idea. Why?
You could be able to pick from it and organize it afterwards.
Yeah, you have to sort of an idea.
When you're editing, when you're in edit mode, edit myself mode, that is not the mode for creative freedom, right? Free writing disrupts that self-editing mode because the focus is not on edited writing. The focus is on creativity. Yeah, generating any sort of ideas where whatever creative element of your brain, you can say, okay, you can let it out of the cage and say, you're free to jump around the room. You think what you want to, let anything come to life. You are unrestrained now by commas, semicolons, and independent clauses. You can let the creativity out of the cage in free writing. So, talking about the meaning here, which is important to me. This is a significant idea and sort of an advanced idea when you're talking to writers. Free writing, the purpose is creativity. And that's why that editing mode, it's not disrupted, it's destroyed. And it's just a different mode. And you think exercising is exercising, right? But there's exercising for endurance, where you're going to go slow and steady, right? And then there's exercising for fat burning, like interval training. You go fast, stop, fast, stop, right? It's all exercise, but it has a different purpose. All free writing and then your formal writing, it's all writing, but it has a different purpose, a different end for your brain, and this is all stuff for your brain exercise. All right, so let's talk. Any questions about that? How free writing functions? How that's why it's important. There are not too many. When you're a grown-up, there aren't too many opportunities for most of us during the day to let your creativity completely out of the cage for credit. There are some opportunities to do that just if you want to. But doing that in an English course. You're doing it for credit. It's almost like getting paid for it, right? Because of that, if there's that grade. Okay, free writing stresses me out because I focus on the grammar and spelling. Immediately, the sentence has to be perfect. If I were going to, let's look at the semicolon here. Does the first, actually compound independent clauses, do they, unless this because is making it a subordinate, does it work better as a semicolon situation if I take this as a complete subordinate and put it at the beginning of the sentence? Because I focus on the grammar and spelling immediately, free writing stresses me out. Not completely, right? So that's not going to work. So, do you need that comma?
Yeah.
Yeah, because could I put it at the beginning as a subordinate and it makes sense? No. There's your trick. See the trick? Okay. Now, let's see if this is going to work as the sentence has to be perfect. This is powerful to me. It's dramatic. It's dramatic and emphatic after the semicolon. But does this first part of this free writing stresses me out? Because, and I almost want to put, because I want to focus on the grammar and spelling immediately. The sentence has to be perfect. Does it work? I think it does.
Yeah.
And I do think that the ideas are connected enough for a semicolon, even without the transitive adverb. Because whatever you put in between semicolon, transitive adverb, comma, is going to take away from that drama, right? So, I like it. All right. And it works. Through the writing process, comma, the writer can map and plan his or her writing. You wouldn't use the slash in formal writing. It's, of course, okay in a reading journal. What do we got here?
I think I'm repeating the words. Writing.
Do you guys think the sentence repeats?
No.
No?
No. It's okay, we're all learning here.
That's right. That's right. And I think the focus is actually the pre-writing process, right? Through the pre-writing process, the writer can map and plan his or her writing. Okay. Yes. It's simple sentence. What is this? No. What's the subject in the sentence? Subject. The writer. What is that?
That's introductory phrase.
Yes.
Whoa.
There we go. Lovely. I'm going to give it 2 points. It's an introductory. Listen, anytime you've got, something that gives you, I know. Anytime you got something that gives you a what, when, where, how, and it's a subordinate clause, and sometimes they call it introductory clause or prefatory clause. it's going to be subordinate, okay? It's going to be dependent, so it's not going to be a complete, but it's that introductory clause that's going to automatically modify whatever is after that comma. It's going to need a comma, and it's going to need to modify this. Does this subordinate, prefatory, introductory clause, does it modify the subject? Through the writing process, comma, the writer, yes. Is the writer going through the writing process? Yes. So it works. But anytime you have that prefatory clause, know that you're going to have a comma, and that this clause should modify what immediately comes after it. Because if it doesn't modify what immediately comes after it, you've got a misplaced modifier. And a misplaced modifier can cause a lot of confusion. Isn't that right, peoples? Okay. Have I been talking for like 5 days? What time is it?
10:40.
10:40? Are you serious?
Sorry.
That is psycho. 3 sentences.
No.
3 sentences. But what are we talking about? We talked about a lot, right?
Yeah.
The importance of free writing, prefatory clauses, independent clauses, parallelism, gerunds, participles, infinitives. All right, I'll take it. We're going to take a short break, and then we'll be back to class. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay. And